We're now going to take a look at the muscles which flex the wrist or radiocarpal joint and fingers, as well as the muscles which extend the wrist and fingers. First of all, when you look at the muscles which flex, that being on the anterior surface or the front of your forearm, one can note that they all taper over to one point, this being close to the medial epicondyle, that bone that sticks out, the funny bone. That's where most of these wrist and finger flexors do attach. So we can see them running down and then running down all the way, some of them, towards the ends of the fingers. Naming these muscles is not as difficult as it might seem. Many of them start, in fact, with the word flexor in them. There are muscles such as flexor carpi radialis, flexing carpi, the wrist, on the radial side. We'll also have a muscle on the ulnar side which would do the same thing, flexor carpi ulnaris. These muscles will flex the wrist. We'll leave the rest of those muscles out for just a second as we come to the back side now. Now we're looking at a bunch of muscles on the back of your forearm which will extend the wrist and fingers. And conveniently, they're named extensor carpi, in this case, radialis. We have a long one and a short one. We also have extensor carpi ulnaris. These muscles work together to extend the wrist. Note that they all come to attach on the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. Tennis elbow is a condition on the lateral epicondyle, repetitive movements of the wrist and fingers into extension. Extensor carpi radialis, extending the wrist on the radial side. Extensor carpi ulnaris, extending the wrist on the ulnar side. We also have some muscles which will extend the fingers, bringing the fingers up. Extensor digitorum is one of those muscles. On the muscles which flex the fingers, they are deep. If I take off for a moment some of the more superficial muscles, we can see there are deep muscles on the front of the forearm. A couple of these are called flexor digitorum, flexing digits, superficialis, a superficial muscle flexing the four fingers. And then deep to that, flexor digitorum profundus, profoundly deep, are muscles which flex the fingers. While it isn't necessary for you to memorize those muscles in terms of leading a class, it's a good idea to have some understanding of where these muscles are and, of course, what they do.